Hi everyone, I'm Dianne Devitt. Welcome to another episode of Stick Up, where we interview event luminaries, people who have made great contributions to the meetings and events industry, and who are actually truly unique people in themselves. With me today is Steve Fader, the owner and founder of CheckIn Tech, but actually so much more. Steve is going to share a little bit about his world in politics and walks and festivals. And Steve, I don't know, I'm gonna leave the rest to you. But before we get started, and I welcome
thank you
today, and thanks you again for coming in.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me. This is so great. We're really excited to talk
I
about
love
this
it.
sort of
I
stuff.
really appreciate it, and I hope everyone else does to learn a little bit. But you know what? Before we get started on the career and on the business stuff, tell everyone a little bit about you.
Sure.
Born in New York?
Yeah, so born in New York. I tell people I was born on the mean streets of Long Island, Roslyn, Long Island, which is, if anybody knows about Roslyn, Long Island, it's a nice neighborhood. But I used to then say that I would have to. Some days I didn't think I'd get home alive walking home from school without getting hit by a Mercedes or a Jaguar.
Right, the mean streets, right?
Yes, and it's funny when I tell that story in front of my mom. She's like, "What are you talking about? You grew up in a really nice neighborhood. That's ridiculous." So, but grew up on Long Island, and then I went to school at the University of Delaware. And there I guess I got.
How did you get there, Steve? How did you get to Delaware?
So, I wanted to go to a school that wasn't too close to home, but not too far away.
Not too far away, right.
And it was a great program because it was a middle-sized school. I looked at University of Maryland, and I remember when I was looking around the campus, I came up to a couple people like, "Hey, do you know where this is?" And like 3 different people were like, "I've never even been on this side of campus," or "I don't know. It's so large."
Right.
And so Delaware was a great place, and it actually gave me some great opportunities because I not only got involved with politics, so I was in the college Dems, and I interned for then Senator Biden, but I also, and then also went on to intern at the White House, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit.
Right.
But I also worked for the student-led organization that dealt with all the major events at the University of Delaware.
Oh.
So it was great.
Wow.
And the way that they handled their contracts at the time, I don't think they could do this now, is that they would, the fees for the live, so they had Adam Sandler, let's say, came in. He came in. Alanis Morissette performed.
Okay.
So we handled all the contract negotiations and payment, but the payments were less because we provided our own workers to help with the unloading of the equipment and loading in and loading out. And so we were basically taking trusses and lighting and staging and a bunch of college students. And basically I learned really quickly how to put together a concert.
Isn't that interesting? Like, life comes to us when we're not looking for it. Here you chose your educational path, and yet you were exposed to events and to politics, which is really where your life went to. So you really got that inspiration handed to you in a way. So when did you first recognize that and take it to the next step? I mean, for the politics, for example.
I thought if whatever I could put my mind to it, I could do. And so I thought it would be just a crazy idea in my sophomore year. I was president of 5 clubs in high school.
Only 5?
Only 5.
Right.
And then I started getting involved with campus organizations at the University of Delaware. So I thought with all of my different extracurricular activities, maybe I could try and shoot for the moon, and I'll apply to the White House internship program, and as a backup, I applied to Senator Biden's office.
Oh, okay.
And so I never thought I'd get into the White House program. In fact, I got first into the Biden internship, and I agreed to do a 6-week program in the summer. And then 3 days later, I got a letter in the mail from the White House saying I was approved into the program. And I think I got in partly from community service, partly through my family who's been involved with politics as well. But I don't know. I was one of only in that program. So I did both internships, I should mention.
Wow.
So I went to D.C. I did the Biden and the White House.
So simultaneously,
one after the other.
And they both knew you had.
Yeah, I called Biden's people back and I said, "Is it okay if I can do a 4-week?" And because I got in the White House, I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So when I got to the White House program, they had said in our first day in orientation that there's 2 summer sessions. They accepted 200 people for each session, and out of that, there were about 15 of us in that room, because I remember they said, okay, who goes to an Ivy League school, who goes to this school?
Right.
And there was about 15 of us who didn't go to any Ivy League schools in the whole room of 200.
Wow.
And so it was a little intimidating, but again, I was like, I'm going to put my mind to it and see what happens.
There's so many lessons in the story you just shared. Well, firstly, because you say yes when an opportunity comes along. Secondly, like just the chutzpah to fill out the application to be a White House intern.
My friends and family thought I was absolutely crazy.
And was it an arduous process, or was it something that you had expectations for, and then you said, "Gee, I can do this"?
I mean, it was like college applications. You had to put it in
so
an
it's
essay
doable.
and a little bit of a background. But I did it all on my own. I didn't get any help because partly I was like, there's no way I'm getting into this thing, so I might as well do it on my own. And,
right.
And it just paid off. It's what my father says, is a lot of folks say, is if you don't ask, if you don't try, you're not going to ever succeed.
Right. Right.
And so, I tried, and I got it. And then, crazier from that is that once that first day in our internship program, we got to choose where we wanted to go, or we put in our top 5 places that we wanted to be interning at the White House. I got none of them. Okay?
Oh.
I was put in the Office of Scheduling in Advance. And they put us in a room of 10 people, in a room maybe smaller than this studio, which is not a very large space.
So your job was to do basically just what it sounds like, Office of Scheduling and Advance, which can't be for the faint of heart.
Well, so the office is broken up into the scheduling office and the advance office, but it sits on the same place.
Right.
When we sat down, we were told by the second-year intern coordinator that there was one spot for an advance intern, and the rest of the people in the room would be working as interns in scheduling. None of us knew what that meant.
Right.
And I didn't know. So the person left the room, and we were all chatting, and the guy came back, and he went up, and he said, and I'm going to have the advance intern, and he picked me. And so I didn't know what's in store for me, but it was a very cool job compared to the scheduling, which was the scheduling interns were basically anybody who writes a letter to the president, from we would like for you to join us at this important meeting to, hey, I'd love for you to come by when you're in Arkansas next and have a beer with me. No joke. People would send notes like that. Every single, yeah, right. We'll just swing by on our way. President of the United States. So, but people believe that. So everybody deserves a response.
Right.
And this is what the interns were doing. So they were doing, it's very tedious. And on my end, and the Office Advance, we were basically handling, which a lot of people don't know what Advance is, but basically we were doing political event planning. We were handling all the logistics for a visit by the President of the United States, from a restaurant down the street in DC to China and everywhere in between.
So that's actually a good point, that in the events we're so used to it, but in the events world, advance is to ensure that all the logistics are worked out to the most detailed element, right? So that when that person comes, it goes smoothly. So that's just so interesting that you were exposed to that so early,
so young,
and so young, but thrown into it without a choice, which is the greatest education, right?
Yes.
So did you then? And then, just as a segue, because we want to get more into the company and stuff.
Sure.
Then, did your world then go into events from there, or did you stay in the political arena for a while?
I think I went in between for a while. So I loved planning events for the White House. And so this was the summer of '96. And I remember I called my mom and I said, they asked if I was interested in going on the campaign trail for the Clinton-Gore re-election. And she said, well, what does it entail? I said, well, I'd have to take time off from school. And she goes, absolutely not.
Absolutely not?
No. So I couldn't go on that.
I liked your mother. She's
like, your education is first. And I got it. I understood. I think what she said was, if you do this, we will cut you off from school.
May I just interject here to any of the students who are listening to this videotape? Who then go to their professors because they have to go to something, and their professors say, but your education is first. you gave up the campaign
That's true.
to finish your education.
That's true. That's true.
Well, listen, Steve. That's a perfect ending to this
Yeah,
first segment.
of course.
I want to thank you so much for
course.
sharing this with us.
Thanks.
Stay tuned, everyone, because Steve is going to tell us more about the world of events, which is just as exciting as the political arena, before we hear about CheckIn Tech. So thank you very much. Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for tuning in today.